The dawn broke pale and cold over the high school parking lot. Inside a faded blue sedan, Evelyn Carter stirred awake, her breath fogging the glass. She rubbed her hands together, whispering to herself that it was Friday. Another day to smile, to teach, to pretend. A strand of her hair caught the sun's first light, turning her weariness golden for a moment before the truth sank back in. She splashed bottled water on her face, changed into a pressed blouse, and slipped on a practiced smile. As she stepped out, the distant sound of students laughing echoed like a reminder of the world she was still part of, but not quite in. She whispered, "What if the people who look up to you saw where you really sleep?" She locked her car, straightened her bag, and walked toward the school, a soldier of kindness, armor made of composure. Would you still teach hope if you'd lost your own? The first bell rang like a small mercy. Evelyn Carter stepped into her classroom, inhaling the scent of chalk, books, and teenage energy that felt both comforting and foreign. She placed her coffee on the desk, watching her students trickle in. Liam Torres greeted her first, cheerful but observant, a 17-year-old whose kindness lived in his eyes. "Morning, Miss Carter," he said. She smiled, her voice light and warm. "Good morning, Liam. Ready for your essay presentations?" As the chatter filled the room, Evelyn's stomach twisted quietly. She hadn't eaten since yesterday afternoon, yet her presence was steady, radiant even. She listened, encouraged, praised. Her students didn't notice the slight tremor in her hand when she lifted her mug. Every sentence she taught about empathy, every poem about resilience, felt like a mirror she dared not look into. Would you still teach hope when your own life was unraveling in silence? That afternoon, Evelyn stayed late, grading essays by the window. The sun dipped low, bleeding orange into the classroom. Papers fluttered in the soft hum of the air conditioner. She paused at Liam's essay, a reflection on the invisible people, and smiled faintly. Outside, laughter echoed as the last students left. Evelyn waited until the halls were empty before packing her worn leather bag. Her fingers brushed the stack of essays she couldn't finish, and for a moment, she simply stared at them. When she turned off the lights, her reflection appeared in the dark glass. Composed, professional, but hollow. She whispered, "Tomorrow will be better." The echo answered back softly, as if the room itself didn't believe her. The night air outside was sharp with the scent of asphalt and eucalyptus. Evelyn's car waited under a flickering parking light. She slid into the driver's seat, unwrapped a granola bar from her bag, and chewed slowly, her eyes fixed on the empty field beyond the fence. A text from Jasmine Lee, her 16-year-old student, blinked on her phone. "Thank you for today, Miss Carter. You make school feel like home." Evelyn smiled through sudden tears. Her voice trembled as she whispered to no one, "I'm glad someone still feels at home." The car's interior light dimmed, leaving her surrounded by quiet. She leaned back, pulled a blanket over her lap, and closed her eyes. The school building loomed in the distance, watching like a silent friend that could never speak. Saturday morning. The school was empty except for the hum of vending machines and Evelyn's quiet footsteps. She walked the hallways with a small trash bag, collecting stray papers, pretending she was just staying organized, not killing time before the library opened. Through a window, she saw Liam Torres and his mother, Marisol Torres, at the far end of the parking lot, loading groceries into their car. She hesitated, ducking back instinctively. She wasn't ready for questions. As their laughter drifted toward her, something inside her ached. Not envy, but longing for normalcy. She whispered, "How did I get so far from ordinary?" Outside, a gust of wind lifted a page from her hand, carrying it down the corridor like a fleeting piece of her life she could never quite hold on to. Monday morning brought the illusion of routine. Evelyn Carter stood by the whiteboard, tracing lines of poetry about truth and disguise. "What we conceal," she said softly, "sometimes defines us more than what we show." Her students listened, but Liam Torres watched. He noticed her shoes, damp, dust-caked, the kind of wear that spoke of long walks. He saw the faint puffiness beneath her eyes, the thermos she sipped from all day instead of eating. When class ended, Evelyn erased the board slowly, as if she wanted to erase the world's curiosity with it. Liam lingered, pretending to gather his books. He wanted to ask if she was all right, but the words froze somewhere between respect and fear. That afternoon, he told himself he was imagining it, but his gut whispered, no one should look that tired alone. During lunch, Evelyn sat alone in her classroom. The teacher's lounge was full of laughter and questions she couldn't answer. She opened her drawer and took out an apple, polishing it against her sleeve like a small act of dignity. Outside, Jasmine Lee knocked softly before poking her head in. Carter, are you okay? She asked. Evelyn smiled. Of course, dear. Why? Jasmine hesitated. You just seem tired lately. Evelyn chuckled gently. She placed the untouched apple back into the drawer, whispering, maybe I just forgot how to rest. Beyond the window, Liam passed by, glancing in without meaning to. Something in him stirred. The beginning of a truth he didn't want to believe. After school, a drizzle blurred the world into soft watercolor. Liam waited under the eaves, pretending to scroll his phone. He saw Evelyn leave the building, pulling her coat tighter against the wind. She moved quickly, almost cautiously, glancing around before heading not toward the main lot but the rear one, where few people parked. Curiosity bit at him. He followed at a distance, footsteps quiet on wet pavement. Evelyn reached the faded blue sedan, opened the trunk, and pulled out a folded blanket before slipping inside. The car light flicked on briefly, then dimmed. Liam stood frozen in the rain, his heart pounding. Something inside him whispered what his mind refused to say. She's not going home. He turned away, drenched and speechless, unsure if he had just seen kindness disguised as tragedy. That night, Liam lay awake, replaying what he saw. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her sitting alone in that car. The soft glow of the dashboard, like a fragile heartbeat. He told himself it couldn't be. Teachers didn't live in cars. Teachers had homes, families, warmth. The next morning, Evelyn's voice floated through class like nothing had changed. She laughed at a student's joke, wrote quotes about resilience on the board. But to Liam, every word carried a different weight now. When class ended, he lingered again. Carter, he began. Do you ever stay late here? She smiled, her tone light but guarded. Sometimes. It's peaceful when the halls are empty. Liam nodded slowly, the lie confirmed by her gentleness. Friday arrived with heavy clouds. The week had stretched long and strange for Liam. Each time he saw Evelyn smile, it felt more like a plea than an expression. During dismissal, he watched her linger again. No carpool, no wave. Just her walking toward that same hidden corner. He texted Jasmine Lee, I think something's wrong with Ms. Breeze. Carter. She replied instantly, what do you mean? But Liam couldn't explain it yet. How do you tell someone their favorite teacher disappears into a car at night? As he walked home, raindrops began to fall and he looked back once more. Her figure was already gone. The sky cracked open with thunder, and for the first time, Liam realized kindness sometimes wears the face of exhaustion. Rain fell like whispers that night. Liam Torres sat by his window, the glow of his phone lighting his anxious face. He'd seen enough hints, but his heart still argued for doubt. Around midnight, the thought became unbearable. He had to know. He threw on his jacket, grabbed his keys, and drove back toward the school. When he arrived, the parking lot was almost invisible under sheets of rain. Then he saw it. The faded blue sedan, windows fogged from within. His chest tightened. Moving closer, he glimpsed Evelyn Carter asleep in the driver's seat, wrapped in that same gray blanket, a book still open in her lap. He froze, rain soaking through his hoodie. The truth wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, human, and devastating. He whispered to himself, "She's been here all along." Liam stood motionless for minutes, unable to move closer, unable to look away. The sight of his teacher, the woman who spoke of courage and self-worth, alone in a rain-soaked car, felt like an ache he didn't know how to carry. A sudden flash of lightning revealed her face. Serene in sleep, yet marked with fatigue lines too deep for comfort. He stepped forward, but stopped. She deserved her rest, even in this place. He whispered, "You shouldn't have to be this strong." Then he left quietly, the sound of rain covering his retreat. By the time he got home, his heart was heavy with a new kind of responsibility. Kindness wasn't about pity, it was about action, and tomorrow, he knew, would change everything. Morning came gray and heavy. Liam sat through class unable to focus, his mind still echoing with the image of Evelyn sleeping in her car. She was cheerful as always, perhaps even brighter, as if she could sense the need to keep her light alive. After class, he caught Jasmine Lee by her locker. "I need to show you something," he said quietly. She frowned. "Is this about Miss Carter?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Don't freak out, okay?" Later, from behind the gym fence, Jasmine saw what Liam saw. The car, the blanket, the silent truth. She covered her mouth, tears welling. "She's living here," she whispered. Liam nodded, his throat tight. In that moment, both understood. Sometimes the people who save you are the ones silently breaking. They spent the day exchanging texts, debating what to do. Jasmine wanted to tell the principal immediately. Liam hesitated. "What if she loses her job?" he said. Jasmine's reply came fast. "She's already lost enough." After school, they waited for Evelyn to leave again, then approached her car. The tension was thick, their hearts pounding. When she saw them, she froze, eyes wide, hands clutching her keys. For a long moment, no one spoke. Liam finally whispered, "You don't have to hide anymore." Her voice cracked. "You shouldn't be here." Jasmine's tears fell freely. "Neither should you." Evelyn looked away, her composure trembling like glass. The truth had finally been spoken. And now, it had nowhere left to hide. Evelyn sat with them inside the car as twilight fell. The air smelled of rain and paper. For the first time, she didn't pretend. Her voice was quiet, stripped of performance. "My husband died 2 years ago," she said. "The insurance didn't cover what we owed. I tried everything. Tutoring, night classes. But the rent went up. I told myself it would just be a few weeks." Liam and Jasmine listened, eyes wet but still. She smiled faintly. "I didn't want anyone to see me like this. Teachers are supposed to have answers." Jasmine reached out, took her hand. "Sometimes the answer is letting people help." Evelyn looked at them both, 2 children suddenly older than they'd ever been, and for the first time in years, she allowed herself to cry. The next morning felt strangely still. Evelyn Carter entered her classroom early, as she always did. But now the air seemed heavier, her steps slower. The knowledge that 2 of her students knew the truth clung to her, like unseen weight. When the first bell rang, Liam Torres and Jasmine Lee exchanged glances. A silent pact. They had decided. They couldn't let her face this alone. After class, Liam lingered again, this time without hesitation. "Eames, Carter," he said softly. "We talked last night. We think you should tell someone, maybe Principal Green. He'd want to help." Evelyn's smile faltered. "You think help exists for people like me?" Jasmine stepped closer, trembling but firm. "We'll go with you." For a long moment, Evelyn just looked at them. These two young souls, brave in ways she no longer remembered being. And then she nodded. They walked down the hallway together, each step echoing with the weight of what was about to happen. The sound of lockers slamming and laughter faded as they neared the administrative wing. Principal Howard Green sat behind his desk, gray hair neat, expression unreadable. When Evelyn entered with Liam and Jasmine, he looked up in surprise. "Everything all right?" he asked. Evelyn's hands shook slightly. "Howard," she began, voice low. "There's something I need to tell you." The story came out in fragments. The eviction, the nights in the car, the fear of being found out. Green's face softened, disbelief, melting into sorrow. "Evelyn, why didn't you come to me sooner?" She smiled faintly. "Because I'm supposed to be the one helping them." He looked at Liam and Jasmine, then back to her. "Then let us return the favor." After the meeting, Evelyn walked out into the courtyard, numb from relief and fear. Liam and Jasmine followed close behind. Students hurried by, unaware that something irreversible had just shifted. Green promised to handle it discreetly. But Evelyn knew the truth had a way of traveling faster than whispers. By lunchtime, eyes began to linger a little too long. Conversations paused when she passed. Yet, to her surprise, there was no cruelty, only confusion and pity. She hated that more than judgment. When Jasmine asked, "Are you okay?" Evelyn answered, "I'm not sure what okay means anymore." But deep inside, a fragile hope stirred, the possibility that being seen didn't have to mean being broke. By afternoon, word had spread. A few teachers stopped her in the hall, offering polite sympathy wrapped in discomfort. But when Evelyn reached her classroom, she froze. Inside, her desk was covered with notes. Handwritten letters, small drawings, folded bills, and a coffee cup labeled, "You've taught us more than you know." Liam and Jasmine stood by the door, watching her reaction. Evelyn traced one letter with her fingertips, reading the shaky handwriting of a sophomore. "You always believed in us. Now we believe in you." Her voice broke as she whispered, "How did they even know?" Liam shrugged, smiling softly. Kindness spreads fast. In that fragile moment, she realized something extraordinary. She had been teaching lessons of compassion all along, and her students had finally learned the most important one. That evening, Principal Green called her back to his office. "The board's been informed," he said gently. "They're arranging temporary housing until we find a longer solution." Evelyn nodded, overwhelmed. "I don't know how to thank you." "You already have," he replied. "Every student who walks out of your class a little kinder, that's your legacy." When she stepped outside, Liam and Jasmine waited in the hallway, grinning. "So," Liam asked. Evelyn smiled through tears. "I think they're going to help." Jasmine exhaled in relief. "Good, because we were going to anyway." They all laughed. Quiet, real laughter that tasted like hope. For the first time in months, Evelyn walked toward her car, not to sleep, but to pack. The following week arrived like the first breath after drowning. Evelyn Carter stood in front of her class, hands resting on the podium. The notes and flowers still decorated her desk, tokens of quiet rebellion against despair. She looked at her students, faces she'd once thought she had to protect from her own fragility. Now she realized they had protected her. "I owe you the truth," she began softly. The room fell silent. "I've been going through something hard. I didn't want anyone to know because I was afraid it would change how you saw me. But what I've learned is that strength isn't pretending you're fine. It's letting people care when you're not." The silence deepened, but it wasn't awkward. It was reverent. Liam Torres smiled faintly. Jasmine Lee brushed away a tear, and Evelyn's voice steadied. "You've reminded me that kindness doesn't have to ask permission to exist." Word of Evelyn's confession spread through the school, but it carried no scandal. only empathy. Teachers brought her meals. Parents offered spare rooms. Even Principal Green looked at her with newfound respect, not pity. One afternoon, Evelyn found a note in her mailbox. "You once told us stories can heal people. Now yours is healing us." She sat alone in the library, holding the letter. The air smelled of old paper and possibility. For the first time in years, she wasn't running from the world. She was part of it again. When Liam stopped by after class, she handed him a worn paperback copy of To Kill a Mockingbird. "It's yours now," she said. He frowned. "Why?" She smiled. "Because you saw injustice and refused to look away. Atticus would have liked you." A week later, Evelyn stood before the faculty at a small staff meeting. Her voice shook, but her words were steady. "We talk about building character in our students, but maybe we forget that they build ours too." The room was silent. Every face turned toward her. Some teachers looked ashamed, others inspired. She continued, "I thought being homeless meant I'd failed, but what I see now is that the failure wasn't mine. It's what happens when compassion is treated like charity instead of responsibility." Principal Green nodded slowly. "Evelyn," he said, "you've reminded us what education really is." For the first time, she didn't lower her gaze. Her story had stopped being a secret. It had become a lesson. That Friday, the students gathered for an assembly. They had planned it themselves, a celebration called Acts of Real Kindness. Evelyn was seated in the front row, unsure what to expect. Liam stepped up to the microphone. His voice trembled at first, then grew clear. "Sometimes the strongest people are the ones we never think need help. Miss Carter taught us to look closer, not with judgment, but with love." The gym erupted in applause. Evelyn covered her mouth, overwhelmed. Jasmine appeared beside her with a bouquet of wildflowers. "You are our teacher," she said, "but you've also become our lesson." In that moment, Evelyn didn't feel exposed anymore. She felt seen, completely, honestly, beautifully seen. That night, Evelyn drove to the ocean. Her car, once a symbol of despair, now felt like a vessel of memory. She parked near the cliffs and watched the waves crash in silver moonlight. The sound was loud, but healing. She whispered to the sea, "I made it through." Then, softly, "We made it through." In the passenger seat lay a small envelope of donations her students had gathered, a letter from Principal Green offering a temporary apartment, and a card from Jasmine, "You're never alone again." Evelyn smiled, tears catching moonlight. Would you still hide your struggle if you knew how much kindness was waiting on the other side of honesty? News travels differently when it's born from empathy. Within weeks, Evelyn's story spread beyond the school. First among parents, then across the small town. Local papers printed her photo beside words like resilience and grace. At first, Evelyn felt uneasy about the attention. "I didn't mean to become a symbol," she told Principal Green. He smiled gently. "You didn't. You became a mirror." Donations arrived at the school office. Sleeping bags, gift cards, even handwritten poems from students at other schools. Evelyn spent her evenings organizing them, determined that no one would sleep in a car if she could help it. And so the teacher who once hid in shadows began lighting paths for others, proving that one story could rewrite an entire community's idea of compassion. The first kindness drive took place on a Saturday morning. Students, parents, and teachers gathered in the school parking lot, transforming it into a sea of open trunks filled with clothes, canned food, and notes of encouragement. Evelyn moved among them, her once familiar space now alive with laughter and purpose. She watched Liam Torres directing traffic, Jasmine Lee pinning up signs that read, "Give what you can, take what you need." When a reporter asked Evelyn how it felt to see this, she hesitated before replying, "It feels like forgiveness." Behind her, Principal Green nodded in quiet pride. For once, The parking lot, the same place that once held her secret, had become a place of hope. Weeks passed, and Evelyn's mission deepened. She began holding after-school meetings called kindness circles, where students shared stories about unseen struggles, a parent's illness, an eviction, loneliness. One afternoon, a shy freshman named Derek whispered, "England, Carter, I thought I was the only one." She smiled softly. "You never were." That single exchange echoed what her life had become, proof that openness builds bridges stronger than pride ever could. When the bell rang, she sat in the quiet classroom, staring at the circle of empty chairs. She no longer saw her car when she closed her eyes. She saw faces. She saw community. She saw home. That month, Evelyn was invited to speak at a local education forum. She stood on stage under the harsh auditorium lights, gripping the microphone with both hands. Her heart raced, but her voice was clear. "I once thought that losing my home meant losing my worth," she began. "But worth isn't measured by comfort. It's measured by connection, by how willing we are to see one another. The audience, teachers, parents, even city officials rose in applause. Some cried openly. Afterward, a young teacher approached her and whispered, "I'm sleeping in my car too." Evelyn took her hands and said the words she wished someone had once said to her, "You're not alone anymore." Months later, Evelyn walked through the same parking lot where her story began. The blue sedan was gone, donated to a shelter program for families in need. She stood where it once sat, the ground glistening with rain. Liam and Jasmine joined her. "Older now in spirit, feels strange without it," Jasmine said. Evelyn nodded. "It does. But maybe that's the point. Some things are meant to move forward." Liam smiled, holding up a flyer for the next community event. "You started something that won't stop, Miss G. Carter." Evelyn looked up at the gray sky, her reflection mirrored in a puddle below. "No," she said softly. "We did." And in that quiet declaration, the movement wasn't hers anymore. It belonged to everyone. Spring came early that year. Soft and forgiving. Evelyn Carter stood before her new class, sunlight spilling through the open windows like quiet applause. The walls were brighter now, decorated with quotes written by her former students. One read, "You taught us to see people, not problems." She smiled as the new students settled into their seats, fresh notebooks ready. She spoke gently. "Before we begin, I want you to remember something. Everyone you meet is carrying a story you haven't heard yet. Be kind first, always." The class nodded, some puzzled, others moved without knowing why. As she turned to write on the board, Evelyn realized she wasn't teaching from duty anymore. She was teaching from gratitude. Every word, every glance, a quiet thank you to the world that had once seen her. At lunchtime, Evelyn sat outside beneath the blooming jacaranda trees. Purple petals drifted across her notebook as she wrote ideas for her next literature project, stories of resilience. Liam Torres approached. Older now, a college freshman visiting home. He carried his usual grin. "You still eat under this tree," he teased. She laughed. "Some habits are worth keeping." He handed her an envelope. "An invitation to the state teachers' conference. They want you to speak again," he said proudly. Evelyn opened it slowly, her smile trembling. "I guess the lesson isn't finished yet." Liam nodded. "You didn't just teach us English, Miss Carter. Taught her. You taught us how to stay human." The wind lifted petals between them, and for a moment, it felt like time itself was clapping softly. That weekend, Evelyn attended the conference. The stage lights no longer frightened her. They felt like old friends. She looked out over a sea of teachers, each face a reflection of her own former uncertainty. She began softly. "We're not just educators. We're witnesses to unseen stories. And when we choose compassion over assumption, We change lives, including our own." Her words flowed like music, not practiced, but lived. When the audience rose in applause, she didn't see fame. She saw connection. The same connection that had saved her when she thought she was beyond saving. As she left the stage, she whispered to herself, "Teaching never ends. It just changes form." That night, back home in her small apartment, Evelyn opened her window and let the evening breeze in. On the table sat a framed photo. Her, Liam, and Jasmine Lee at the Kindness Drive. Her phone buzzed. A message from Jasmine, now volunteering abroad. "Still spreading your kind of kindness." Evelyn laughed softly, eyes glistening. She replied, "That's the best kind." She sat down at her desk and began drafting a new syllabus titled Empathy in Literature. The lamp cast a warm circle of light across her papers, and for the first time, her space felt not temporary, but truly hers. She wasn't surviving anymore. She was living and leading others toward the same. Months later, Evelyn walked past the parking lot where everything began. The space was busy now. Cars, laughter, morning sunlight glinting off the pavement. She stopped for a moment, hand on her heart. A new teacher crossed her path, a young woman with tired eyes. "You're Miss Carter, right?" she asked shyly. "You're the one from the story." Evelyn smiled gently. "I suppose I am." The teacher hesitated. "I've been struggling lately. I don't know how to keep going." Evelyn placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then don't go alone." The woman nodded, her eyes bright with sudden hope. Evelyn turned toward the rising sun, whispering to herself, "Kindness never ends. It only changes hands."